Fire and rehire is a term that's usually used where employers want to migrate to a whole workforce to a different set of terms, often less favourably. So it's kind of shorthand for the rather low bar that you have to show to dismiss someone fairly and offer alternative terms.
Although that sounds a little harsh, actually, certainly as a part of last resort, it is a useful mechanism for an employer who really has got to do something about a particular term or condition in a contract.
The proposal under the pre-election promises that Labour made under their document Making Work Pay was that they would ban or outlaw fire and rehire. Actually, that's been moderated by the progression of the bill. It will still be almost impossible to fire and rehire where you're talking about core terms such as pay, hours, that kind of thing.
And I also have a concern that actually, ironically, it might cause employers to just go straight to redundancies, or worse still, even to fold the business, because it doesn't want to have to go through this process and rely on this defence and find out that it's failed in relying on the defence. So there is a danger that actually the alternatives open to employees, as I say, redundancy or folding, might actually become more attractive. It's what we call the unintended consequences. I think what businesses need to be really looking at, and it's a bit of a typical answer, but it's auditing their contracts. And you're right. So first of all, the contract has got to accurately reflect all the terms and conditions that the employee is working under, and that may sound obvious, but trust me, I've seen a lot of very old contracts that bear no resemblance to what the employee actually does now, and I think that sort of practice of just letting contracts carry on has got to stop, and now would be the time to carry out an audit, make sure the contracts say exactly what they should say. Key point is that most employers have a staff handbook and they have a contract of employment. Generally speaking, the staff handbook will say that doesn't form part of the terms and conditions of employment, and that it can be amended at the employer's discretion. And it's quite important to make sure the dynamic between those two things is right. So the things that are set in stone and you are legally obliged to form part of the terms and conditions are in the main contract. Get your documentation in order so it's up to date, it reflects the working relationship, and the dynamic between the handbook and the contract is right.